Okay, so let's start. Thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Barbara. I'm from marketing at CleverMaps, and I will be your host for today's webinar. Our topic is data as a key to adapt to the new normal. And please welcome our two speakers.
Hi there.
Hi.
So welcome Ondrej, the CEO of CleverMaps, and Martina, our awesome data analyst.
Hi there.
Hi.
So what is CleverMaps? It is an location analytics platform for large-scale data. The areas of application is wide, and our customers range from small startups to large corporations. Today's agenda is we will tell you something about the impact of COVID on various segments. Then we will go through the changes of consumer behavior. Then we will tell you what data is available and also how to use the data. And then, of course, there will be some space for your questions and answers. So now I will pass the word to Ondrej, who will continue with the presentation.
Okay. So really the goal of today's webinar is to go through the topic why actually you should care about COVID-related changes, and show you on practical examples what is happening and how is it affecting many types of businesses, and especially what data can do about it, and how you can handle the situation with utilizing data to actually improve your own situation or the situation of your businesses. So why you should care about the COVID-related changes? It really is about connecting with the changing customer habits. And if you haven't realized yet, this is actually happening, and the data that we are processing in our practice and in our customer and clients' situations and scenarios show that they are actually changing quite a bit. So the current situation is unlike any normal situation which has been here before. The pandemics, of course, has its usual effects that we consume in media, but we want to focus more on the business side of the outcomes of what is happening right now, and that is, of course, the impact that it has on businesses and especially in money terms, and this is pretty substantial. So what is actually happening right now? These are a couple of topics that we will be trying to cover also later on in the live examples. So also, don't forget to ask if you haven't seen anything that you wanted to see. But in general, the pandemic's actually changed the mobility of people. Well, this is pretty understandable with all the lockdowns going across different countries, but we're not talking just about lockdowns. We're talking about what happens after the lockdowns, or when the lockdown is out and people are left free. Still, the patterns and the mobility has changed and probably will be changing even for the future. So that's one thing. The mobility has changed and is still changing. That brings altered demand because the people are simply in different places. They are working and buying from homes, and that means that the demand has changed geographically quite substantially. Now, risk awareness is another topic. Well, simply put, people are more aware of risks, and they are more cautious about what they will do because they are unsure about the future in general, about their jobs, about their companies, about their business. Another thing is the need for digitization. Quite straightforward. We cannot socialize, we cannot meet in person, and that means, well, we have to do it in the digital world. So yes, the physical world suffers right now, but it's not that the digital world saves everything. It's actually coexistence of these channels, which is kind of a new must. So let's go through the through some of the segments that actually we work with, and our clients recruit from these segments. So we know this from firsthand, and this is the example of insurance. We always have a look on available researches. This comes actually from Insurance Thought Leadership, which happened this year, and it was worldwide. So it spanned across Asia, US, South America, Europe. It was pretty interesting. All in all, it shows that insurances are not doing that bad. Currently, all the insurances are either doing steady, they have the business as it was last year, or they are doing better than last year. So that means that's probably affected by the risk awareness of the people, and the health first scenario, which is there on the first place, that simply put, people turn to insurances, and at the moment insurances are actually doing quite okay. But the connected living, the way that people want to and need to operate and communicate with insurances is a different thing. Of course, the level of health insurance is rising, as well as the uncertainty of people, which means that in general they want to insure. But the thing is, they want more transparent and more individual suited insurance types, and they are more price savvy as well. And then empathy is everything. We found out, and the research finds, that people, yes, they want to use digital channels, but they want to have people on the digital channels to actually speak to and solve what it is out there. So all in all, insurance is doing good, but they need to digitize, and of course, impact on their branches and kiosks is quite severe. Now, banking is not doing that great compared to insurances at the moment, because they are affected by the interest rates and repo rates by the central banks. So some of their traditional products where they were used to make money is actually suffering at the moment. So that will lead to a redistribution strategy across different products, and they will have to adjust to that. Again, distribution strategy is a big thing, because digital channel, again, is something newly important. That, again, credit risk and customer assistance, is similar to insurances, similarly important. And then the speed, has never been, a kind of a thing that banks would be great at. But for now, this probably is about to change, and banks are basically forced to move faster than ever before. By the way, this comes from McKinsey research. Now, retail is something that we are seeing, all of us, in our daily lives. We can see that consumers are actually adapting pretty fast. And of course, this favors, the retailers with digital channels and with digital strategy. And of course, all the lockdowns have significant impact on the way we shop, and we actually can shop at the moment. The buying patterns shifted just because we are in different places. We are more at home, and we are buying from different places than before. And this means, the whole geographical shifts in demand, and that's pretty severe. Also, family first, like people are now more shopping in terms of family shopping, not just individual shopping. And data protection and trust in organizations is another new trend which is out there. E-commerce. like, yes, everybody kind of sees e-commerce is a winner of the situation. We have a good cooperation with one of the biggest e-commerce retailers here in the Czech Republic, and what they can say is like their sales are Christmas every day right now. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like the sales are on the levels that have never been before. Like every day is a Christmas right now, but that leads to complete different perspective because you have to handle this. You have to handle the demand. You have to handle the logistics. You have to handle all the trade. And taking into account that the people are in different places means that this is much harder than it was ever before. And we also think, or the research also, in this sense, it's Forbes research, which shows that lots of these trends will probably prevail. It's like people will get used to it, but they will never come back into some what they already got used to, especially in terms of e-commerce and digital channels. They will probably stay there. Maybe not all of them and 100%, but once they realize the experience, they will probably stay there. HoReCa, at tough times, obviously. All the gastro business is suffering everywhere in the world, and it's super, super hard. I mean, this is a real survival at the moment, wherever the companies are. And in many senses, we can actually see what's happening is that there are consumers and customers like us who are actually trying to save their pubs. They are trying to save their restaurants that they like by supporting them and buying food from them and so on. By the way, here in the Czech Republic, this is the first day after the lockdown that we can go to pubs. So that's probably what most of the people will do today. But anyway, that's a good sign. But these businesses are, of course, suffering like no one else, and it brings these new trends. What will happen again in the future? We're talking to some of the clients, some of the restaurant chains or restaurants, individual restaurants, that actually for the first time in their history, they opened an e-commerce channel. They are offering their food in an e-shop, and that will probably stay. I mean, I think even after they open in a normal opening hours, they will stay. They will still keep their digital channel, and this is something exceptional. I think this will again change some of the habits and some of the buying behavior of all of us, because all this will all of a sudden be available. And of course, also the new way of dining and well, simple things that we maybe couldn't imagine in the past, but we have to live it now. But that can alter some of the behavior to the future as well. So again, this research came from foodsafetytech.com, and again, it's super interesting. We will share the presentation in the end and on our website, so you can get to the details of the research. But we just think that it's super interesting. So there's like short overview of some of the business segments that we work with and that is affected by COVID. Now, there are a few things that everybody have in common. It's like, and that's massive shift to online, wherever it is, even restaurants and even the services that, didn't think they have to be online before are now online. And that means also increased dependency on technologies, because that's also payments, that's also security, data privacy, and so on. So online and technology, new big thing, even for elderly people. I mean, think about it. In this time, even elderly people were actually forced to use digital technologies. And once they learn, they will probably stick to that. Then change of movement. rapid, massive change that we will try to show you in a minute. But this thing is really severe. I mean, the mobility, the way it changed, that really, changes everything. The way we shop, at who we shop, the demand levels, and it all shifted. Then increased demand for, quality and human contact. Interesting thing, like with social distancing, we would probably never think that this could be so important, but it is now. And then the safety first. So that's pretty much what's happening, and this is all reflected in some data, and this is all that you can actually utilize for your own business to kind of find the way out of the crisis and find the way out of pandemics, and actually find an opportunity how to maybe save or even grow your business in the very, very difficult times. So the data is key to this, and we want to show you some of that. So I will pass on to Martina to go through some of the data that we will be showing and that we are using. There's of course lots more, but to keep it simple, well, we'll start here.
Yeah, hi everybody again. As Ondrej said, we have used already 3 types of data. We are trying to use different sources, so the analysis is even more accurate. Every single type of this data have different advantages and also disadvantages. That's why we are trying to put all of them together to get the most exact result. So this is a first type data. This is data published by Google, and Google has a great thing because it has the reach of all Android devices, so they can simply track everybody through Google Maps and Google applications. So it's simple for them to somehow put the data into various segments. In this Google report, they published it at the beginning of the pandemic, and they put this data into regional detail. You can find it online. It's free. It's available for everybody, and we simply put it in the map. In this case, they divide the categories into retail and recreation, grocery and pharmacies, parks, workplaces, and residential areas. We will show it to you shortly in the map. But I just wanted to point this out because it's free, it's for everybody, and it's very exact because it's Google. The disadvantage of this is that it's aggregated, and it's aggregated into areas. For countries, it's aggregated into different areas. It can be regions, it can be counties. In some of the countries, it can be only the country level. So it really depends which country you need. The second type of data is mobility data. We are using different providers. These data are specific because you can get a very exact position. Just imagine it as timestamp. You are using app for ordering food, and you order the food, and the app will automatically if you have location services on, the app will automatically send this timestamp wherever you are. It's going to be anonymized. It doesn't have your name on it, but it has the exact location, the exact time. So, and these data are collected by companies and sold to companies like us, so we can analyze it. It's very accurate. We can say on a spot where the people are, where the people are moving, how close they were to different businesses. And yeah, this is mobility data. And third type of data is data provided by the mobile providers. In this country, we have 3 of them, and they have very good penetration. it's very big number of this data, so you can get basically everybody who has a mobile device. It's not that accurate like the mobility data I was talking about in the previous slide, but it will give you a pretty good picture. Where I'm heading is when you put all these 3 types the data, or even 2 of them together, you get even better result than using only one of the sources.
Or it depends on what you want. So you can actually choose the granularity level for the use case that actually you need.
Yeah. Plus, if you put your internal data into this analysis, and we've seen it on some of our clients, our client from a banking industry, without even knowing their internal data or how many people actually are coming less to their branches, we made the analysis for them, and we combined mobility data from Google and the mobility data by Unicast. And we actually set the exact number, the same number of the mobility change as they saw in their own branches. So that can show you that is pretty exact.
Okay, now the point that Martina made is crucial, because all this data that we described is available, is out there. There are reports ready, made, for basically almost any country in the world, definitely all the countries in Europe. So that is ready. You can go to super geographical low level of detail. You can go on any site, on any address point, and you'll get a result. That's great, but nothing comes closer to combining that with your own data, which is your sales data, your maybe visits data, from a CRM system or counter system, and or it could be claims data, or any other type of data that you have internally, and then you actually see how the changes out there in the mobility actually really affect your business, and where more, where less, and where are actually the points and locations where you should focus on to do something about your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you basically put the internal data together with the context of the data or what's going outside of your branch, and you get the complete picture.
Okay, so it's like bringing in the real life, the physical element into your traditional way of looking at your data. From sales. So yes, sales could be going down. It's pretty understandable why the sales is going down, but still, it now tells you where exactly is it happening, how it correlates with what people are doing in other businesses and in general in their just normal behavior, which means also what you can do about it, and what you can do about the business in order to move where the people now are, or what they are doing, or what they are more focusing on, and how you can redirect your business into, let's say, a more profitable solution. It's not only the mobility data. We're just using that example today, which is a super important part of what's happening. There's more of it. There could be car mobility data. There is definitely data about points of interest. And there are other types of both open and commercial data that are available out there that can make the picture even more complete. But the mobility and the sales and the operations data combined together, that really is the key. So now what we can actually do for you in general is that, all this that we describe is available. We provide for companies, based on company specific reports on pre and post carbon mobility and the affection of your business. We provide service for placement of a new pickup points related now to the change situation. We offer a solution for optimization of opening hours in the new situation, as well as for optimization of your both sales and delivery network. So that is something that is, like quick and relatively easy to do, and it's a fast way how to answer the demands of what's going on right now. Now, well, our customers are usually quite happy about what we do. This shows why it's like we are pretty fast in some of these like predefined things and the reports and solutions that we showed you. So there's a quick time to launch the project. There is a quick time to delivery of a standardized project. There is a clear ROI on the project. So it definitely pays for itself, and it's usable for business users in the company. So you don't have to be a data analyst, or you don't have to be a GIS expert to utilize the outputs of what we are doing. So that's about what we offer, and why it could be interesting for companies to invest into this type of insights. I think that now we will actually move on to practical live examples. I'm not sure whether Barbara maybe wants to push.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys that you can leave some questions if you have in the chat bar, and we will get back to that later. So anything you want to ask, just do that in the chat. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we will actually move on to some practical examples, and right now we move into our application. So what you are seeing is CleverMaps app, and we will show you examples of all those data sets that we were talking about. And we will show you how we work with it. We'll show you the specificities of the data set and how you can go actually top down. That means from a general level and the big picture into focused and detailed level on a granular level.
Mm-hmm. So I would love to start with the Google mobility data, because we think that's very interesting, and it can give you a bigger picture about what was happening in the country, in your country, whatever that is. We have the data starting February 15th, and we have them until November 6th. So over here, we can see how the mobility in the workplaces has changed. You can see the timeline. So the timeline will give you a pretty accurate view about what was happening in those 6-7 months. So in Czech Republic, I will show you a little bit about the timeline. Then in the other countries, I will skip that, so I'm not wasting time. Here, this is March and April. This is where everything started, biggest lockdown in the Czech Republic. Then we are going slowly, better after the measures are releasing a little bit after time. And then summer, everything went a little bit to normal. And then again, we are starting going down, the numbers are rising, and starting in the half of October, we are going back to the lockdown again. So now I will go through the countries so I can show you the little differences that happen in different European countries. So here, the workplaces, the mobility around in workplaces went down everywhere. Doesn't matter if it was a big city or if it was a small town. People just didn't go to work. Here we even had recommendation by the government to stay home if you can work from home. The same was happening everywhere. Here we can see Hungary. The trend is obviously bigger in bigger cities where there is more office jobs, so people are actually able to work from home. So in bigger cities, this trend was stronger. Outside of the cities, it was a little lower, but still the change was about, in Hungary, about an average 19% down. Here we can see Romania. the same thing, 20% down. Here, Belgium, 31% down. And over here is Austria. This is very significant as well. What I would love to show you is what is interesting was grocery shopping. As you know, grocery stores and pharmacies didn't close. They were still available through the time. So you can see how it changed. Specifically in Czech Republic, it was the biggest difference was in the big cities, because people were not coming to the offices, so they didn't go every day after work to grocery store. They went once, twice a week for a bigger grocery shopping. So here you can see the trend. Also, people were kind of migrating outside of big cities to areas in the nature here in the mountains. So where they felt a little safer than in the big cities. So this is how it looked in Czech Republic. Also, where they had some kind of vacation in areas like here or in Belgium, people were migrating, let's say, or moving for little period of time to places where they feel safer. Here you can see that it was again beaches and areas outside of bigger cities. I skipped Romania. You can see over here as well. The mobility actually froze around grocery stores and pharmacies in the areas with smaller cities, and as well as, in this case, beaches. You can see Austria, and here after this as well, you can see it again. Bigger cities, area with bigger cities, they were going down. So I will leave this. This is Austria, and Ondrej will now show you different type of data, how we use the mobility data in this context.
Okay, so yeah, thank you for that. Let me get to another screen. Okay. So this is actually a bigger level of a detail to Austria, using also a different data set. So this example that we are seeing is...
Can you please explain what was the real difference between the data? What data are we using here in this view?
Exactly. This is now not a Google data. This is not a Google aggregated mobility data. This is now Unicast mobility data, which has a much bigger detail and goes onto the super low granularity level. So we can go, and you will see it in a few more moments in a much bigger detail. I'm just starting from high level where we finished with the Google. Now seeing actually the average travel distance, and this basically shows us that the Austrians inside the borders of Austria. So this is like no tourism involved, but the Austrians simply travel less, and on average they travel less. Almost 14 kilometers. In average, and that's a lot. So what you can see are these areas around big cities, Innsbruck, Linz, Vienna, and so on, which basically show that people are not commuting into their work as they used to, and that their travel distances therefore dropped down dramatically due to that. When we see Vienna as as a city. In this view, what we can see is Vienna in the context of the other regions around that. That means not just people inside the borders of Vienna, but Vienna in terms of also people commuting into Vienna, so that we can see that again almost 10 kilometers on an average travel distance lower than in the normal times. So we can see how commuting to work and to big cities has actually dropped down, and how big is that? You can also see the ratio to the last year. So you can see you can really see the level of a drop, which is quite substantial. So now this data was or these outcomes were computed out of the Unicast mobility data. And when we were talking about Vienna and the travel distance, I will follow on, and I will move on to Vienna, and this is the same data. It is the average travel distance, but this time it is excluding commuting to Vienna. So this is just inside the borders of Vienna, and I used a more granular view of that. And I have a grid here, where the cell edge is about half kilometer. And what we can see here is that, everything which is red basically means that the travel distance dropped. And I can actually see that on average, the travel distance dropped by about 1 kilometer for Viennese people. However, the green parts are where the travel distance actually increased, and it's quite understandable that these parts of the city are expectedly in the outskirts of the city, where actually people started using their cars for commuting to shops, and therefore the travel distance rose there. But on average, this is where we can see the difference. Now this is really 2019 minus 2020, and we can see the difference, where increase and by how much. By the way, if you wanted to kind of look inside and have a more kind of more detailed view, you can also you just change here for example for a satellite view, and you can clearly see that there are the certain parts of the outskirts and living areas, with small housing in Vienna that show that simply people are having a longer travel distances in those areas. So that shows how you can move on from high level to lower level. Now the case of Vienna is of course interesting from many other aspects. What we can show you in general is the traffic mapping. Let's you can see here. Give me a second before it gets all the data. By the way, you can see on the footfalls here the numbers that the data that we are processing here is really large. We're talking about hundreds of millions of footfalls just inside of Vienna. And quite interestingly, what we can see is that overall the mobility in Vienna simply went down. The interesting part on this is that in this case we are using 2 weeks in September 2019 and 2 weeks in September 2020. And these 2 times, well, the first one obviously was normal Vienna. The other one was not a lockdown time. This is some basic restrictions, but not a lockdown. Still, the total mobility dropped down quite dramatically. However, what we can see is that it was driven a lot by driving. Again, if I visualize the difference, 219 and 220, we can see clearly, you know, like the main highways and the main roads in Vienna are red, which means that simply the traffic, especially cross-border traffic in throughout the Vienna, has dropped down significantly. But even if we take the drive out and we keep we keep just the data without the cars, yes, we can see that the pre-COVID time and then non-lockdown time, still the mobility fell down by approximately 8%, and different parts of the city are affected. But it's not only about that different parts of the city are affected, it's also about, look at the change in the hours, you know, like how the distribution looked like before and how it looks today, you know, this year. That simply shows that people are in different areas, in different times, and you in businesses have to adjust that. I'll show you another view, which is super interesting. We took a couple key shopping malls in Vienna, and this is what we see. If we took these couple big shopping malls in downtown Vienna, and what we can see is that, again, the traffic, you know, around the mobility around the shops and in the shops actually dropped down quite dramatically. This is half of the mobility that these shopping malls used to have. So so the impact on these shopping malls is pretty severe. Then again, this is not only about the total level of footfall. It's also about, you know, how people now are behaving. It's simply the distribution in time is completely different than what it used to be. Another thing that is worth mentioning is for example, the home office part. We are now looking at, and I will take out this part of the picture. Now, this picture that we are seeing is actually increased level of home office in the Vienna, and this shows, you know, all the parts in Vienna that people stayed on home offices compared to how it was last year. So this is pretty substantial. We can see, again, this is non-lockdown time, and still we can see, you know, how home office really went into the habits of Viennese people, where some parts are almost extreme. Again, when we look into these areas and we go into bigger detail, sorry, just move on here, and we use the satellite imagery, we can really see that, you know, these are the housing areas in Vienna that show such results. So that was a short overview of what you can quickly do with these different types of data. Last thing that I would like to show you is this one, and that's just for your better understanding of the mobility and mobile data. In this practical example, we simply used both mobility data and mobile data, so mobile providers and the apps providers, and we put them together, and that gives you the advantage of both. That means you have and super accurate locations. You can go really, really granular, but at the same time, you are actually pairing the whole big penetration of the mobile data to that. So this is more to show you how you can work with that, and that you can combine the data and get even more robust and accurate picture, and utilize it for your business. So now you can see what people are actually doing, where they are, and where the demand has moved. So that was it from showing out the data and how you can use it. And I think now it's the time for the questions.
Thank you guys for the presentation. I would just like to ask you one question. Well, if I really want to use this data to do something about my business, like can you show us some real examples of how to use it to optimize, let's say, retail?
Okay. Well, one of the things is, and we did this a few times, if you pair the data to the physical locations of your shops and combine it with the sales data, the visits data, and also the cost data of those shops, you can clearly see which shops kind of to keep, and which shops to let go, which shops to change the opening hours, and when, and that's in most of them it is the case. And actually where the demand has shifted and what it means for you, very often it means that some of the shops which used to be not so profitable for you, all of a sudden have a greater meaning because simply the demand shifted. So combining these three data sets shows immediately the impact on your network, and you can also combine it with money. So that means, okay, what kind of cost do I give against these revenues, and where I can expect the revenues to come actually, in the future. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ondrej. We have some questions here. So, how do you see the development of CleverMaps in the future? Is it e-commerce and the brick and mortar, and as well as the HoReCa segments have been hit by the crisis?
Okay. Well, first of all, yes, you're right. We some of our clients were hurt in the pandemics. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that we are losing the business with them, because they have to adjust to that, and we are bringing them the data, and we're bringing them the insights, and we are preparing, not only data but the insights, how to cope with that. So that's one thing. We are trying to help them in the situation. The second thing is that all the omnichannel is actually the new normal. It's like the digital and brick and mortar channels will coexist, and we are bringing solutions to both. And by the way, e-commerce, and they have always been our customers as well, and they will be more and more focused on the geographical aspects as well, because they need to know where their customers are and where their non-customers are and what they can do about it. So that's something that actually we are bringing in. And we always say that to the e-commerce part of the world, we are bringing actually the connection with the physical world. Very often they didn't care about it. They were just increasing orders, and they didn't care about where is it coming from. But now it starts to be interesting and important, especially when you go into the older parts of population and older segments. That's the whole new game. So that's what we bring in. Okay, there was another question.
Yes.
Well, data aggregators that we used. Yeah, well, in this practical example, we used Unicast. data. So the mobility data came from Unicast. We're a partner of Unicast, and we use them in majority of the cases. So we show them also the use cases on their data set. What did we think about comparing reduced mobility in Vienna? By the way, we didn't do the comparison of the first and second wave.
We can actually do it.
We can do that.
We didn't do it with the Unicast data because, as Ondrej said, we have month of September, but you can see that. Oh, okay.
Give me a second.
We will share the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it would be possible through the Unicast data, but for the comparison, the Google data, we can use this.
It was Vienna, but this Hungary.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Where is it? Here. No. Where is it? Okay. You can see that in the timeline. So it would be a better picture of over here of Czech Republic, because we know the measures what were happening over here. We don't know the exact measures that were happening in the time in Vienna, but here we can see the 2 lockdowns. So yeah, if I could guess the answer to your question, people kind of adapted to the lockdown, but I believe that the lockdown in Vienna happened after this data, because this is until November 8th.
Exactly. So if you have a look here, this is actually September, October, and then this is the fall into a new lockdown. So that was the part that we were actually covering in our scenario, and this was the starting point from which it came, which was actually January, but we were comparing it not to January, but to September previous year, to 2019.
But Google is actually updating the data pretty regularly. They promise to do that until the pandemic is under control or over. Of course, it can stop at any time, but yes, you would be able to compare it through this data pretty accurately. Because as we said, Google has big amount of, all of the Android devices, which is a quite big number.
Yeah. But again, but again, the Google is fantastic for cross-country comparison, because it's the same measures, but it really is very high-level view. Whereas for business purposes, you really have to go way down. Like what we showed in, for example, on the case of Vienna, and there already you have to use the Unicast or the telco data to cope with that. Okay.
So if you guys don't have any other questions, someone is typing. Okay.
Oh, you're absolutely welcome. Any other question? We still have a few more minutes to cover.
Okay, so I think that's it. No more questions.
Someone is still typing.
There is the type, and we will wait. We have time.
So in the meantime, I will just tell you that we will send you the recording of this webinar as well as the presentation. So you will have all the information in your email tomorrow. And yeah, I think that no one else is typing. Thank you that you found this webinar interesting. And of course, if you have any more questions, we are always available at email, or you can always reach us to find out more.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's not super easy to cope with all all those changes and all the data which is available, and how you can use it. So if you have any questions that kind of come after this, and it just evokes your thinking about that, we are more than happy. And yeah, just please come back to us, and we'll try to answer and be helpful.
Okay.
So far, so good.
Someone is typing again.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
That's about it.
So everyone, have a nice evening.
Thank you for spending and sharing your time with us.
Thank you for your attention.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks.